Alright, this is going to be kind of a supplemental video to my grinder modification or the ceramic glass platen installation. I just want to go over some various ideas on platen backers as well as maybe some more information on ceramic glass as far as the installation and the reasons behind that. What I've been using up until now is simply a piece of mild steel as a flat platen. A lot of guys do this. It wears somewhat slowly, definitely compared to other materials you can use, but it still wears quite a bit faster, perhaps even surprisingly fast than I would like it for my applications. And when grinding, believe it or not, you will pick up even the slightest variances in your grinds, and it will reduce the sharpness of your grinds, which is not something that any knife maker wants. So that led me into researching some various options as far as some longer wearing platens, things that wouldn't wear as fast, that would stay flatter and just be a better option. And there are a few things that pop up in the various discussions. Probably the two best options that I've been able to find in my research are hardened steel platens, made typically from tool steel, or ceramic glass platens. There are other options for various applications. One of the more common things that maybe even come stock with various platens is graphite, maybe some graphite cloth, or hardened graphite. That tends to wear much faster even than the mild steel, so that's typically not encouraged when people ask for options. Another platen backer material, some guys use leather. That's a completely different application for convexing blades and blending grind lines and things of that nature. That's not by any means a hardened platen backer. It may wear slower yet than graphite, but it's still a different application, so that shouldn't really be considered if you're looking for something that wears slowly, stays flat, and gives you good sharp grind lines. So narrowing down to the two best options, which would be a hardened steel. The harder the tool steel, the better, the longer wearing, or the ceramic glass. I chose the ceramic glass simply because I felt that there were fewer steps and that it was an easier application. And from what I've read, this may even wear slower than even hardened tool steel. With the hardened steel, you do have to consider that it needs to be milled flat more often than not. It needs to be heat treated, needs to be milled out, tapped, screwed, everything in between. And it's just seems to be a lot more of the process and maybe a little bit harder to get exactly right. The glass, on the other hand, is fairly cheap, comes perfectly flat, ready to go. You may have to make some minor modifications as far as maybe rounding some edges, softening some corners, maybe even radiusing the edge a little bit. But this piece, as I got it from usa-knifemaker.com from Tracy Mickley, was pretty much ready to go. Even the edges weren't very sharp, although they are at sharp angles. They weren't anything that would cut me or my belts, so it was pretty much ready to go. As I probably went over in my installation video, I did round the top edge just a little bit to soften the transition from the wheel to the platen as far as the belt's concerned. But again, this is a very good option. It is ceramic glass, also known as pyroceram or fireplace glass, are probably the most common terms used to describe it. Please do not confuse this with tempered glass, plate glass, silica-based glass, or anything in between. I have heard of several guys using various forms of glass other than ceramic glass with not very successful results. It will heat up, it will distort, it will crack and destruct a lot quicker. So I definitely recommend getting the glass preferred for the application, which is ceramic glass. And again, these can be found at most major knife suppliers, even a few of the smaller guys, possibly even some local glass suppliers. If you were to call them, they could probably help you out. And again, installation, very simple, very easy, very quick. I was able to probably complete this whole platen in a matter of a couple hours. Started from scratch. I did fabricate a new mild steel platen to adhere this to, and then I went through the various steps as detailed through my installation video. Very quickly, very easy, and this works very well. Now, there are a few safety considerations that you must keep in mind, maybe more so than even the hardened steel platens. One, this is glass, and if it does break, there is potential for hundreds of small razor-sharp fragments. And again, with the rotation and forces at work of the belt, more often than not, those are going to be aimed directly at your body, your face, even your eyes. So you definitely want to keep safety in the forefront of your mind. Do wear your PPE, your safety glasses, your respirators, possibly even full face shield, shop aprons. Do wear a heavy apron, even long sleeves if you can, things of that nature. You do want to protect yourself in the event, as unlikely or as likely as it might be, that this glass would self-destruct and be thrown towards your body. Again, as outlined in my installation video, one thing that is absolutely necessary, as necessary if not more so than your PPE, is a ledge for this glass to sit on. It's a very simple, very cheap, very quick modification. There are a number of ways to do it. I just bolted a piece of flat stock there just to keep this from being able to slide straight down into the wheel in between the belt. So absolutely do that if you're going to consider this at all. If not, get some hardened tool steel. Don't even bother with this. Another thing, if you do have a reversible sander, one thing you need to consider if you have a motor that reverses rotation for various applications, you probably want to go ahead and add another ledge at the top, just so this won't slide up either. Chances are probably much more minimal that it would anyway, but just be better safe than sorry. Another consideration, if you're using a tool table, any accessory tables, as you're sliding it in to your tool arm or your socket, be very careful that you don't impact this very hard, because it will fracture, it will break, regardless of how flat this is. You can chip this, and any cracks, chips, abrasions, anything like that will show up through the belt on your knives. Regardless of how small they might be, you will be surprised at how quickly those show up. Another thing, kind of in ending this video, that you probably want to consider is static charge can build up to some pretty high levels. I've heard of guys getting some pretty good bites and jolts, especially in drier climates. Maybe when it gets colder out, the static does have more potential to build up. Probably the easiest way, without going into any electrical theory or possible grounding methods for you or your machine or your platen, easiest thing is just to get some anti-static spray that you would use for your laundry. It's readily available, very cheap. You can find it in probably any grocery store's laundry aisle, places like Walmart, things of that nature. Just spray a little bit of that on the back of your belt as it's moving, and from what I've read, that works very well for a considerable amount of time. And again, it's cheap. If you start getting a little bit of a buzz or a jolt from static, just spray a little bit more, you should be good to go. So that's basically, I think, all I wanted to cover, kind of on some of the theory here. If you do a search for glass platens, ceramic platens, pyroceram platens, things like that, you should get probably dozens of discussions from the various knife and tool forums. So definitely do more research. Don't just take my word for it. More research has never been a bad thing. So definitely read up on those discussions. There are several at the Knife Network forums and things of that nature. And again, this is probably one of your best options. There are some safety considerations to be made, but I think the pros far outweigh the cons. And as long as you're wise about it and show some degree of discretion and carefulness, you really shouldn't have any problems. Guys have been using these for years. So take it for what it's worth. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll talk to you guys later.